everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 12 in the Countdown to Christmas 2021 series, and we're going to be making this scene card. I'm going to start out with the card kit from Hero Arts. I believe this was the October kit, as well as the Lawn Fawn Joy to All stamp set to create the scene. I've already cut the window image from some shimmery cardstock from Michaels, and we're going to get ready to stamp the images to create the scene. Placing the scene how I want it, putting the window over top of it to just make sure that everything is going to look okay. I thought I was going to do masking, and then I realized it would probably be easier if I just actually stamped these and used my brother scan and cut to cut them all out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ink up the tree with some Versa Fine black onyx ink, stamp that down onto that square piece, and then I'm going to stamp the other images on some watercolor cardstock because we are going to be watercoloring. I do believe this piece is also watercolor. So this is a scrap piece that I had lying around, and I'm going to use the same exact ink to ink the images up and stamp them using my Misty. I love using the Misty, especially when I have intricate stamps like this or stamps that I've never used. So it helps to get a great impression on them. I do have to stamp them out a couple times, as you see there. And now I'm getting ready to decorate the Christmas tree. There are ornaments and garland and stars and a bunch of different things that you can decorate the tree with in this stamp set. Oh, I just decided to use the garland and the star. Now I'm going to be taking my Derwent Inktense watercolor pencils and mixing colors. You're gonna see me use a couple different techniques. If you've seen any of my other videos using the Inktense watercolor pencils, you will know that these are some of the favorite techniques that I've done. This time, I really love the way the tree came out, so I'm going to leave that in. What I decided to do was color the bottom part of each tree where it would be the lightest with this light green, and I believe this is apple green. And then what I'm going to do is go back in the areas where it was going to be the darkest and color in with some colored pencil. I did leave a little bit of white space because what we're going to do is blend them. So I believe that I said that was apple green. And then this next color, I went in and went right underneath where each layer of the tree would overlap each other, as well as right underneath the garland, because that would create a shadow as well. So you see I'm just laying some color down, and I apologize I can't see what those colors are. And this one is a little bit of a teal. I thought I just wanted a little bit of variation, and for some reason this was the one that I grabbed. Now you're going to see that I pick up a little bit of water with my brush and then take the lightest color and drag the color up, and then I'm just going back in and coloring with the water on my brush. No real technique here. I was just trying out different things to see what would produce the best results, and I really like the way this tree came out. I really like this coloring technique. Now, you've seen me before lay colors down and then just kind of mix them together, but this was laying colors in specific areas and pulling them out. So you can see that I got a really nice shade on that tree there. So you can see from the first to second layer, it is dark and then it goes to light. So this is what I'm going to do to color in the tree. I don't believe I left all of the coloring in here because you guys have seen me color with Inktense watercolor pencils. It is probably my favorite medium recently. I have not used my Copics in a while. I probably have to get back to that. I probably should do one of my next cards with some Copics, so maybe that's what I'll do. But I really do love using these Inktense watercolor pencils. I am not great at watercoloring, but these pencils make it so easy. So if you like the look of watercoloring, I would really suggest you try these pencils out. They're so forgiving and so easy to use. It's my preferred way to watercolor because I don't think I get as great of a result using actual watercolor palettes as I do when using these pencils. I finished coloring all of the images off screen, and now I'm going to show you what I do for my Brother Scan and Cut mat. My mat is no longer sticky so I use some pixie spray on the back of it. I do have a quick tips video on this one, so you can go back to the videos on my channel and find that. It's a quick tip video series, and the last one that I did was one for resticking the mat or using pixie spray for it, and I have a bunch of tips on how to do that. So if you are interested, feel free to go back and check that. I will put the link to that video also in the description box so you can find it easily. But one of the great things about this is there's a little bit of stick on the back of it, so it makes things easier to put into place. They're easily removable, so it's not going to rip your paper, but you can try to figure out where you want everything in your scene to be before you glue everything down, and they will stay temporarily on there. So somehow I lost the footage of this, but all I did was I took my ruler, drew in some lines horizontally, and then sporadically went back through those lines and drew some vertical lines so that I could create floorboards. I used a Micron 0.05 pen, and now I'm just going over the planks and putting down some color, not being careful about what color is going where. I'm going to do that same color mixing that I've done before in previous videos. I'm going to pick up water, and you'll notice that I'm not being careful about keeping the color within each individual plank. I am just taking water and mixing those two colors of Inktense watercolor pencils around. It's going to give some variation in the wood floors, which is how wood floors are realistically in real life. And you'll just notice that I'm just going over it very, very quickly. This is a very easy and quick way to create a floor. So you actually don't see a lot of it in the end product, and it kind of made me sad because I really liked the way it came out, but it is going to mostly be covered up by the window and the characters. And you can see I was using a larger brush before, but to go into the tiny areas, you'll see that I went back in with this small detail brush and just kind of added a little bit of, or just spread the color out a little bit more. I put this off to the side to dry for a little bit, and then I wanted to work on the background because I thought the white background was a little bit too plain. So I took out some Distress Oxide in Tumbled Glass, used one of my blending brushes that I got off of Amazon. I'm loving these brushes. These are a little bit smaller than the white brushes that I have that I really like, but these can get into a little bit of smaller areas, so I think I actually do like these better. Not taking much care to mask anything off, just trying to be careful that I don't get Distress Oxide where I didn't want it. I did get a little bit on the floor, but like I said, most of that stuff is going to actually be covered up with the other images, so not too worried about it. I do try to go back in with a little bit of colored pencil, pull that out. But like I said, in the end result, you're really not going to notice it because you do not see much of the floor at all. So I guess that was a happy accident. I did it on both sides because I did get a little bit of that Distress Oxide on both sides of the floor. Oh, I'm going to let that dry again, and then I'm going to get ready to put the scene together. So I'm using some Honeybee Be Creative glue to put glue on the back of all of the images. There is a little bit of pixie spray, but it's not enough to keep those stuck down. So what I wanted to do was use that Be Creative glue. One of the good things about this though is that because there's the pixie spray on the back of those presents, I actually just was able to stick them on and just put glue on the back, and I actually kind of kept them as one piece, the girl with the present and the boy with the present. So it was a little bit easier to keep things in place by having the pixie spray on the back of it. I'm just gluing all of the images down into place, and then we're going to get ready to add a little bit of sparkle and shine to the star on top. I'm going to be taking my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and going over top of that star just to give it a little bit of something. You really don't see that in the end. Really, this is just a background piece. Once you see the whole thing put together, you really can barely see the star. But I just thought I like to add a little bit of detail because if you're looking at it up close, you can notice it. Now I'm using that same Be Creative Honeybee glue to go around the edges so I can glue this all into place. Now I don't need glue on the back of everything right away, just right around where that frame is, because you can see that little piece of cardstock where we created the scene is only a tiny bit smaller than or a tiny bit larger than the opening so that we can glue it down. Now that everything is glued down to the front, I'm going to go in with my white gel pen and add a couple of highlights, and then we're going to get ready to put the card onto the card base. So because I used the die, it is the same size as an A2 size card front, so it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I chose a red card base. Before I glue everything down, I want to stamp out the sentiment from the Hero Arts stamp set using the same black onyx ink that I used to stamp out the images. And it says, "May all your Christmas wishes come true." I did have to stamp it a couple of times. And here's the final look of the card. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video. Bye!